Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to decode the neon-lit matrix of text data. We're focusing entirely on the invisible backbone of digital communication, Python strings. If you've ever typed a message, created a username, or searched for a file, you've interacted with the exact concepts we're covering today. So we're going to break down exactly how Python handles all of this text, step by step.
But before we even touch the syntax, ask yourself this: how do applications actually store our names, our chat messages, and our email addresses? When you log into an app or fire off a text to a friend, what exactly are you dealing with? We totally take it for granted, but under the hood, the computer needs a highly structured, bulletproof way to hold on to that info, manipulate it, and display it back to you. And that structured format, that's what we call a string. Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll start with the power of text, move into creating and accessing it, master some key methods, look at real-world applications, and finally, cover common mistakes and next steps. All right, let's just dive right in. Section 1, the power of text.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that a string isn't just a random word. It's a specific, highly ordered sequence of characters that Python uses to store text. Think of it less like a single solid object and more like a carefully linked chain. Every single letter, every space, every tiny punctuation mark is a distinct link in that chain. Python remembers not just what characters you typed, but the exact order you typed them in. And honestly, that sequential nature is the secret to everything we're about to do. Moving on to Section 2, creating and accessing strings. So how do we actually forge these things in Python? Well, for your standard single-line text, you can wrap it in either single or double quotes. Python literally doesn't care. It treats them equally. But when you need to store multi-line text, like an entire email body or a really long message, you're going to want to switch to triple quotes. That gives you the power to hit enter as many times as you want without breaking your code. It's a real lifesaver.
Now, think of string indexing like a neon-lit train where every single car has its own specific position number. With the word Python, the numbering doesn't start at 1. It starts at 0. P is at index 0, Y is at 1, and so on. But, and this is super cool, Python also offers negative indexing. If you want to jump straight to the very last letter, the N, you just ask for index -1 and count backward from there.
By using those train car numbers, you unlock a total game changer called string slicing. Slicing lets you extract highly precise portions of your strings using their index positions. So instead of grabbing just one letter, you can tell Python, hey, give me everything from index 0 up to index 3. It's incredibly powerful. You're essentially taking a giant piece of text and neatly carving out the exact substring you need, giving you total control over the data flowing through your app. And if you ever need to quickly count the exact number of characters in your string, the len function, which is just short for length, is absolutely your go-to tool. Imagine you're forcing a user to create a password that has to be at least 8 characters long. You just pass their input right into the len function, and Python instantly hands you back a number. And remember, it counts the whole shebang: letters, numbers, and even those invisible spaces. Okay, let's step it up. Section 3. Mastering string methods. Python comes fully loaded with these dynamic, pre-built methods that let you manipulate text on the fly. You can instantly standardize user input with upper or lower, swap out specific words with replace, or chop a whole sentence into individual words with split. Oh, and the strip method, that is a lifesaver for automatically cleaning up those accidental, invisible spaces people leave at the beginning or end of a string. And capitalizing just ensures that very first letter is uppercase, nice and neat. Now, when it comes to combining text together, a process we call concatenation, you can just use a simple plus sign, basically adding strings together like math. Hello plus world. But honestly, the modern, much preferred way to do this is with F strings. By just dropping a lowercase f right before your quotes, you can dynamically inject variables directly into the text using curly braces. It is infinitely cleaner and saves you from constantly opening and closing quotation marks. You can also interrogate your strings using membership operators. By simply using the keywords in and not in, you can instantly check if a word or a character exists within a larger block of text, like checking if an @ symbol is actually in an email address. Alternatively, you can traverse the string by looping through it character by character. That just means you tell Python to look at the first letter, do something with it, move to the second letter, and evaluate the entire sequence one single link at a time. Which brings us perfectly to Section 4, real-world applications. It's really important to realize that everything we just covered isn't just abstract theory. Every single time you use a search system on a website, send a message in a chat app, or set up a new account somewhere, these exact string operations are working hard behind the scenes. That search bar? It's using the in operator to find your query. The chat app is relying on triple quotes to handle your long paragraphs. The sign-up page is using strip and lower to clean up your username. It's everywhere.
Let's put this into perspective. Imagine a mini project where you're on a security mission to build a user registration system from scratch. Step 1, you just gather the string, taking in that raw user input. Step 2, you validate the length. You'd use that len function to make sure their username is, say, between 5 and 15 characters. And step 3, you check the characters themselves using the methods we just learned. You'd probably use lower to make sure there are no weird capitalizations, and maybe replace to strip out unallowed symbols. By just stacking these simple tools, you're building robust, professional software.
Finally, Section 5, Mistakes and Next Steps. Before you go off writing your own systems, let's talk about the two biggest traps beginners fall into. Trap number 1, hitting the dreaded index error. If your string is only 5 characters long and you ask Python for index number 10, the program is going to crash because you are asking for a train car that simply does not exist. It's out of range. Trap number 2, forgetting that Python is strictly case sensitive. Apple with a capital A and Apple with a lowercase a will not match unless you intentionally manage the case using the string methods we discussed. If you're gearing up for a quiz, or better yet, a technical interview, here is exactly what you need to focus on. You have to be absolutely ready to explain indexing and slicing out loud. Interviewers love, and I mean love, asking you to extract a specific substring from a messy block of text without even looking at a computer screen. Practice finding lengths with len, converting cases to clean up messy data, and extracting substrings using bracket slice notation. If you can confidently talk through those operations, you are going to be in great shape. So, what does this all mean for you? Well, as a final assignment to really lock in your mastery over this matrix of text, I want you to open up your code editor and see if you can build these 3 things. A palindrome checker that sees if a word is spelled the same backward and forward, a word counter utilizing that split method, and a string reversal tool using negative slicing. Can you figure out how to piece those together with what we've talked about today? Dive in, break some code, and keep exploring. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.